Okay, so just to give you one overview from last class, we have seen how like Selenium IDE works, how we can install a Selenium IDE in our Firefox browser, okay, and how we can start recording. These are the links I have already shared with you. How we can start recording and how this IDE looks like. What are the different components of this IDE? What are the different control bars? Okay, and what is the meaning of command and what is the target? What is the value? We have already discussed about that. We have recorded one of the scenario, okay, and that worked fine for us. There are lots of commands available in Selenium, and if we want to have more idea about a specific command, we can first select that command from this command drop down. I have already shown you can select that command from command drop down, and then you can look at the reference over here. The reference is going to help us in a great way. So we have used some 2-3 different commands, and there are even more commands available. If a website is having a button or a page or some sort of link which reacts on double click, okay, if you double click on that, it's going to give you an alert. So in those double click events can also be tracked with the help of Selenium IDE. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to first select the drop down, double click from here, the command double click, then we need to specify the element, the idea, the element, how we're going to click on that. There are different ways to record, there are different ways to test it again and again. The simplest option is to click on the record button. It will start recording everything. If we need to make any changes, we can select that action, select that specific set of action, and we can change the target, or if you want to change the value, you can change the value as well. Okay, so this is how it works. If you want to find the element on the page, you can click on find, okay, and it will be automatically highlighted in the web page. If you want to select a different element, you can click on select and you can go back to the browser and select the specific element. That element's identifier or the locator will be populated over here. There will be different locators available which we can choose from the drop down. Okay, now going to the next slide. Okay, there is one more thing which is left. There is something called assert text present. Okay, it checks if the text is present in an element or not. Okay, so what happens when you select the command assert text present or anything related to assert, and you specify a value like which text it needs to be present or on which element it needs to be present, then Selenium automatically checks if that element is present or not. Let me give you one example. Suppose you are taking the example of Facebook login. Okay, so first of all, what is going to happen? We are going to navigate, open. The first command we are going to do is open facebook.com URL. Now, first of all, we are going to select, we're going to enter the username or the mobile number. Okay, so we are going to type our mobile number over here, and the element, the password is, sorry, the email field over here. So we're going to type our mobile number or email ID in the email ID or mobile number field. The next thing is we're going to type again the password in the password field, right? And the third thing is we're going to click on login button. So then we are expecting the page to be logged in, and we should be displayed our home page. So when you log into Facebook, if it is logged in successfully, it used to show you your name, right? Like this, welcome, your name, or just your name is written over there. So what we can do over here, like if we want to really check if we have logged in, if our test case has passed, what we can do, we can check assert text present. Okay, and we can specify the element where our name used to come, right? That we can specify. So it's up to you. You guys need to practice it, and if you face any issue with assert, you can let me know. We'll have a discussion on that. Okay, so we have already created our first test script yesterday, and we have seen how we can record, how we can save the script, and how we can open and play it back. Now we're going to create a test suite. So a test suite is nothing but a group of test script, similar sort of test scripts. So we are going to do one test script is always already there. We're going to create a test suite, and within that test suite, we're going to add multiple test scripts. So at the end, we can save that test suite and we can play the entire test suite. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm opening Firefox, then I'm opening Selenium IDE. Let me delete everything. I can delete the steps. There is one test case which is already present. So for example, we're going to have two test cases. So I'm going to change the name from like test case 1. So 1, okay. And I'm going to create another test case. Just right click in this open space, click on new test case. And this untitled is the newer one, so I can change the name to test case 2. Now we have test case, two test cases. We can similarly create a lot of test cases. So here is the command window where we can basically give the command, so we can start recording and it will be recorded automatically. So let's do one thing. Let's save the test case 1 first. So when you have test case 1 selected, go to file, save test case as. Let me save them on the desktop. We create a new folder, test cases, or I may call it test suite _1. So this test suite is going to contain two tests. This is a test case _1, create. I'm giving the folder name. Let's keep it test suite _1, and the file name is going to be test case _1. Okay, test case 1 is saved. We're going to save test case 2. Fine. Now we have two test cases, and if you want, we can create even more test cases over here. And so let's do one thing. Select the test case 1 and let's start recording, and we'll have some 4-5 steps having over here. Then we can have test case 2. So for example, we're going to have Selenium framework. Click on menu, about. Okay, these are the steps that we have recorded. Let's stop the test case. Let's save this test case 1. I'm going to go to test case 2. In test case 2, what we're going to do is we're going to start recording. Okay, with the Firefox I have. Now let's open Selenium IDE. Okay, here I'm going to open the test suites that I have created. So I'm going to open the first test cases. Test case. Go to desktop. This suite 1. Here I'm having all the test cases present. So let's open test case 1. Open. has not saved anything. The test case has been saved into TC1 and TC2. Okay, TC1. Open. The last one was TC2. So these are the steps that were recorded into test case 2, TC2. And in test case 1 there is nothing recorded. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start recording. We're going to go to a page. So for example, yahoo.co.in. I'm going to go to home. Click on create. Stop recording. Click on file and save test case. Now both the test cases are saved, test case 1 and test case 2. We can create as many test cases as we want over here. Sanya, you had one question, why like we always see run 1 and failure 1. So this
Yes.
window, it used to say how many test cases you are having. Now we have 2 test cases, right? So here
Yes.
the runs will be 2, okay? And if there is any failure, it will be over here, like 1 failure or 2 failures maximum. So either it can be 2 runs and all passed, okay? Or it can be 2 runs and 1 failed or 2 failed, like that. So now we have 2 test cases. What we can do is, this Selenium IDE, it has certain bug, like it hangs in between. So you need to close them. If it doesn't close, force close them, then start it again. So now I have 2 test cases. I need to create a test suite out of that. So let's select file, save test case as new test suite or test save test suite. When you click this, click file, suite as, okay, and we have one test suite file. Okay, reset. Let's close everything and let's start from the beginning. Now this is the test suite which is having every information. So if you open with a notepad or something, it will show you the contents of that. What are the things which is available? It says it contains a test case 1 and test case underscore 1, similarly test case underscore 2. These are the 2 test cases which are part of this test suite. So what we are going to do is we are going to open Firefox. We are going to open IDE. We are going to import the test suite. So how we can do that? We can open file and open test suite. We will be navigating to that page, test suite 1. Now both the test cases are open. So what we are going to do, these are the 2 icons which are important. If you want to run the selected test case, just test case 1, you can click on that, play the current test case. If you want to run test case 2, you can select test case 2 and run it. But if you want both of them to be run, so you can click on this. So it will run the entire test suite. So now our test suite is having 2 test cases. So what we are going to do is we are going to run the entire test suite and look at the results. Okay, both of them have failed. See here the runs equals to 2 and failure equals to. Now we need to analyze what the error is. So let's go ahead and start with test case 1. So when we look at the logs, let me make it even more better for you. Okay, this is the log. So it has started from playing test case underscore 1. This is the test case underscore 1. It tried to open a URL, but it failed. Go to log, open this, click on link home. Element link home not found. See, if you go to this, click and paste, it is a command. Click and wait is a command. So it needs to click on a target or it needs to click on an element. So it is going to find an element with the link home, but it is not able to find because it was not there. It was not in the Yahoo's homepage. So what we need to do is we need to make the open this command open, like it's moving or it's navigating to a URL, that we need to specify properly. How we can do that? We can edit the target and we can type yahoo.com over here. Then we can save the test case and run. So let's go to Yahoo homepage and copy it. Yahoo.co.in. Let's open that. Okay. This is the URL. When we are in this URL, then this thing it should happen. Then only it can find the home link. This is the link, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to select the first command. I have selected it. Now these things are highlighted. I want to give the target as win.yahoo.com. Now let's save this file and save test case. Test case has been saved. Okay. So I hope it should run now. So let's do one thing. Let's run the test suite again. Close everything. You should have at least one tab open. It should be slower. First, it has moved to Yahoo homepage. It is taking longer to load. You can see this loader icon, it's moving and moving. So it's going to wait till that element is displayed. Now it has clicked on the home link. You can see this is being executed. It's waiting for the page to be completely loaded. Once it is loaded, this line will be green and it will move to the next line. So okay, that's done. It has clicked on the third link, but it failed. So let's go to test case 1 now. It has failed in the third link. So this is the link which it tried to find, but it could not find that link. Okay, so let's click on find and see if it can find that on the web page or not. Find. No, it's not able to find the link. So we clicked on cricket or something. So let's do one thing. Let's click on cricket now. So this step, what we're going to do, you're going to click and wait on a link which is called, for example, this cricket. Okay. So what we can do, we can click. We can first remove everything. We are going to perform the click and wait action on a target. Let's click on select, and we have moved to our page. We're going to click on cricket. Click on that. Now you can see the ID is automatically, this target is automatically highlighted with ID value, right? So you can go to the drop down and you can see the ID value is very dynamic. It's containing some value which doesn't have any meaning. So tomorrow it may change. Like sometimes back we tried to record something and it has given this sort of ID which is changing all the time. It has a CSS selector. You can see the CSS selector is again containing the same value, the ID value. It's also dynamic. It is containing an XPath. XPath is something which is, as I said you, the DOM. In the DOM we used to have the path starting from HTML to the next element. So when you look at the HTML page, you'll be able to understand the XPath. So it is an XPath. So let's try with this XPath. It doesn't have such random characters and all. It contains some value which is meaningful. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this. Now we have made some changes in test case 1. Either you can press Ctrl S directly, or you can go to File and Save. And that's done. So let's run the test case again. Test it. So it tried and the time it has timed out. You can see the first test case. It has tried to open the Yahoo homepage. Then it tried to click on this link, click and wait, but it could not do that because it was timed out. You can see the log, element link home not found. It tried to click on that but it could not find out. So it took a lot of time. So these are the problems which we face all the time when we go ahead with IDE. If the page is very much dynamic or if the page is very slow, loading very slow, then we may face such issues. If you run it again, let's run the single test case. Okay. It has clicked on cricket. Okay, click and wait. This thing it has action. This action it has taken, and it failed finally. Okay, let's look at the test case 2. What happened in test case 2? About new tab. So this is, let's delete this one. The recording was not proper, so it's not able to find lot many things. Let's create one more test case. This one. This space. I'm getting this links. Copy. The first command that we are going to perform is open the URL, and the page is going to be this one. There is no value. The first thing is done. The second thing is, once we are in this page, what we are going to do, we are going to click on a link. Say for example BMI chart. So what we are going to do right now is, we are not recording, we are not using the recording feature. We are doing it manually. We are going to enter the commands on our own. So what we are going to do is, we are going to click on BMI chart, and we are going to wait for some time. So that action, that command is called click and wait. Okay. Click and wait. On which target? We are going to click and wait on a particular link, right? So we are going to click on select, and we are going to go to the page and select the specific element. Now it is automatically highlighted. We are going to use the link text for that. These are two things which are done. If we go to the next page over here, ideal weight calculator. Suppose I want to perform another thing. That is going to be. So these are the three steps that I have done. So okay, now I'm going to run the third test case. So just click second link and third link. So very small number of steps. So that's the reason it passed properly. These two test cases, they are having a lot of problem. So anyways, now this is the point was how we can create our test suite, and how we can add multiple test scripts and save them in a test suite. So if you keep on creating lots of test cases, similar test cases, or which belong to a specific module, once you're done creating the test cases, you can just select them and click on file, save test case as. Okay, save test suite as. So you can save them into a file. Later on you can open it up and you can run them. So now all of them are saved. We have saved the test suite, and if you want to open it again, you can go to this Firefox tool, Selenium IDE, and go to file, open test suite. You can open the test suite that we have created. Now all these things are over here. So this is how the test suite is created. As it's not that much popular, it has lots of issues. So further developments in Selenium IDE, or like we have lots of software releases, software versions. So the release and version updation on Selenium IDE is very like rare. But if you look at Selenium WebDriver or Selenium Grid, these things are very much popular in market, and these things are very much like they're like updated every week or in a month of time. So let's move to the next part, and we have played the entire test suite also. So assertions and verification. So what is this actually? As I have told you, you can have a UI element. You can check if the UI element is visible or not, if a UI element is present in the page or not. So when a page is loaded, you can verify that. That's what we call assertion. Okay, so if that element is not present, your test case is going to fail. Okay.
So UI elements means user interface element.
Yeah, UI element is this web page. When you have a web page, these are different elements present in the page. This is a link, right? This is an anchor element. We call that link an anchor element. These are the images. These are the image elements. So when you have a text box, you want to write something. This is a drop down. Okay, it's a combo box. It's a drop down. When you have a drop down, it's called a select element, right? So all these elements
Yes.
are present. So what we do when we have a page in which we need to check if, say for example, this test case, it says when you are in the page of ideal weight calculator, you should check if the height drop down or height text boxes are displayed or not. If the gender drop down is containing two values like male and female or not, right? And if the drop down formula is containing all these seven values or not. So these are the things which we need to check or verify on a single page. So Selenium IDE has certain functions which we can select from here the command. Okay, you need to select this. You can go to the command and you can assert. If the assertion fails, then the test case fails. So there is one difference between assertion. Verification is fail safe. Even if the verification fails, it's going to give you the log that this thing has not been verified, the element is not present. But it will go ahead and run the next script. Okay, but if the assertion fails, it will fail the entire test case. Okay, so some of the examples are verified text present, verified title, or assert not editable. If a text box is disabled by default, so you can check that using this method. So let's try to add one more step over here. So here, if you want to check this title, so you look at this title. When we are on this page, we need to check the title is ideal weight calculator or not. If the title is somehow different, our test case will fail. So assert or verify title we can use. Verify title. So when I have verify title, you can have the reference. So it will check the title of the current page, gives the title of the current page. So let's have a value. We cannot select the value over here. We need to directly pass. We cannot select a target element over here because this title is not a target. Right? Let's give the value directly. It says ideal weight calculator. We have the source. We can copy the title and we can put it over. Okay. So let's run this test case. Here's going to Yahoo. Okay, it has passed, but this verified title is in a different place. So what we're going to do is in this BMI test, we have three steps. One is opening the home page, then clicking on the first link, that is BMI chart. Okay, then third link is this one, like clicking on the ideal well calculator. Once we have done that, then we are in a page in which the title is something. So what we are testing is right now, what we are testing is we need to check if the title is same or not. So we need to verify title and we need to give the value as this one, ideal weight calculator. Now we can save the test case and we can run the test case. Let's see how it works. The target. Okay, so verify title, this command, it will take the target as the value. So I don't know why Selenium has done this. but you need to verify, you need to give the title over here in the target field. If you make any changes in the target, or if you have a different target, it's not going to work. So I have changed the target to ideal weight, whereas the actual title is ideal weight calculator. Or you can have any different value which is actually not the value of the title. So let's run the test case again, and we're going to see that the step has failed. Okay, so if you go into the log and if you want to see, go to the bottom value. Actual value is ideal weight calculator. This is the value which is received from the web page, but what we have expected is this value. So they have not matched, so the test case has failed. If there is just one step in this verify title, so it's going to fail the test case. So, similarly, we can have verified text present on a specific element. We can see if this text is present or not, and yeah, all these things are present. So we have already seen this demoqa.com registration page. We have gone through this page yesterday. We have seen how we can have the recording feature. This is a very standard page. Actually, it has all different types of elements present over here, like checkbox, radio button, drop down, and everything. So you can practice on this page. There are even more things available over here. And then yeah, now it comes to the limitations of Selenium IDE. So if you look at Selenium IDE, it's not a complete software, right? It's just a plugin for Firefox. So the problem is whatever test case or whatever recording we do, it runs only on Firefox. It can't be run on Google Chrome. It cannot be run on Internet Explorer as well. So that is the problem which is there. It just runs on Firefox. There is no programmatic approach. We cannot write something which like we cannot say click on the link, then go back, click on the link, or do some sort of logical approach. Say for example, it's not having a programmatic approach. I'll give you one example. See, this is a page in which we are having the height 6 and value of it is 2. So if we go with this approach, Selenium IDE approach, we can have the value at 7, or we can have a specific value like 10 height, 10 feet and 2 inch. Like whatever value we give, that's just a static value. If we want to give the value as, first test with a value of 5, then next time test it with value plus 1. Okay, next test it with value plus 3. So that type of programmatical logical approach we cannot give to Selenium IDE. We need to record it again and again with all the different sets of value. But when it comes to a programmatic approach, when we have Selenium WebDriver or any other automation programming language, so there we can specify all these things. So in IDE we don't have any programmatic approach. The set of commands are very much limited. As you can see, the commands are specific to do a specific task, and they have not covered all the commands. Ideally, they're not possible. We cannot check the cookie. We cannot see if a user is logged in. We cannot check the session. So there are different things which are available with WebDriver or grid approach. We cannot run the test case on like 3-4 different systems at the same time, right? So there are a lot of problems which are available with Selenium IDE. So this is just, as I have already told you, this the use case is just when you want to file a bug, or if you want to record some sort of steps which you need to perform every single day. Difficulty implementing dynamic page. We have already seen some of the pages, they're very much dynamic. The link is not available, as in case of Yahoo page when we have, or in case of Google search. So once you search some item on Google page, Google search, the results, they are not like, they're not static all the time, they're dynamic every single time. You may not find the same result with the same keyword at all the time. So that page is very much dynamic, and it's very difficult with Selenium IDE to implement automation using Selenium IDE on such dynamic pages. Okay, now the test suite, and they're very difficult to manage. When it comes to a test ng approach, we have heard, if you have heard of some like library which is called as test ng, it's very much advanced. It gives you feature to run the test suite with the method name which are like this. So that type of feature, like run the test cases which is having the method names which starts with the letter like module 1 underscore, then the method name. So this approach, or this dynamic approach, this programmatic approach, are all missing in Selenium IDE, because Selenium IDE was not designed for that use case. It was just designed for a record and playback functionality. and people have added some more commands to that. So that's the problem which we face in Selenium IDE. Then Selenium RC comes into picture. So now tell me if you have any problem in Selenium IDE. So for example, we have seen lots of problem happened over here in test case 1 and test case 2. This was because we didn't record it properly, or the thing is that the page was very much dynamic. That's the reason why it failed. So there are certain web pages which are very static, which is having a proper identifier. They can be tested with IDE. If the page is very dynamic, please go ahead with Selenium WebDriver. Selenium IDE is not sufficient for that. So what I want you is to just go through the commands available. Don't go through all the commands. Go through some of the assert commands or some of the verify commands, and you can see the behavior how it works in Selenium IDE. So we're going to move to the next part. So before that, if you want to ask something, or if you want me to help you with something, then we can do that. Seems like two people are away already. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, Selenium RC, what it is, it basically there are lots of problem with Selenium ID. That's the reason why Selenium RC came into picture. It was giving a support for cross browser, like Selenium ID was possible only to the test cases were possible to be run using Selenium ID only on Firefox browser, which was the limitation of ID. Now we can test them across all the browsers. That is the main motto of Selenium RC. Now it's an open source Java project or Java framework which can be run across all the platform, because Java can be run across all the platforms. Selenium, we basically call that a driver version 1. Now we are running with driver version 3. So what are the main components of RC that we'll see in the next picture? It used to have a proxy as in it used to have a third party software, a third party server, which receives the request from the receiver of the scripts that we have written and sends them to a remote browser. So that is what Selenium remote control was used to do. Like it used to have a server in between. It used to have a set of libraries or Selenium core, which it loads into the browser so that the browser can respond to the scripts. It had client libraries in Java, PHP, Python, etc. So this is how Selenium RC looks. When you have the browser, you want to test something over here. You need to have the RC server first, and when you write some code, some script in any language like Java, Ruby, or Python, what we need to do is we need to submit the code to the RC server. Now it's the concern of RC server to run them on this browser. So, but RC server cannot run them directly. It needs to inject a Selenium core. It needs to inject a library into this browser so that the browser can execute this code. Then once that connection is set, then we start running our test cases on that browser, running our test script on that browser. So there are some problems in this approach. What happened? We need to manage a different server, a remote control server. So that is a slower approach. We could have directly accessed from here, but every request we send to the browser, it goes via this RC server. That was the problem which was created. It used to slow down our processing. So when it used to take a lot of time to complete a test case. The second problem was the browser was becoming very much slower. It used to hang because it was injecting a Selenium core library. That was the reason the browser was getting slower and slower. So now that all these problems came into when it came into market, then there was another project which came into picture, that's called the Selenium WebDriver. So these are the problems with Selenium RC which were faced, which were like resolved in Selenium WebDriver. So if you go and look at the limitations of RC, it's a slower processing slower processing library of framework because of the presence of RC server. It has a limited set of APIs and functionalities. If you look at WebDriver, it has a lot of methods, a lot of functions as compared to RC. Poor set of APIs as compared to WebDriver version 2. Yes. Compared to RC, yes. WebDriver is extensible. Yes, as compared to RC, this RC server, it cannot be extended. You cannot modify the RC content. You cannot modify the behavior of RC server because that is static in nature. You cannot do anything on top of that. You can just run our test cases. But when we talk about the next version, that is the WebDriver version 2, in which we can extend that. We can add our own methods. We can add our own functionalities. We can run that, like we can extend that as per our requirement. But this is not possible with Selenium remote control. There was no mobile support. Like we cannot test on mobile browser using Selenium RC, which is possible with Selenium WebDriver. Even there was a poor grid support. Grid support as in if you want to run 5 or 10 different test cases at the same time on same, on 5 or 6 different machines, that was not completely possible with Selenium remote control. But when we talked about Selenium Grid, Selenium WebDriver, it was having complete support for Selenium Grid. So we can run our test cases on remote systems at the same time. Okay, so anything you let's see.
Sir,
Sanya,
are you
okay, you are
hearing?
back online. I think you missed some portion, right?
Yes,
Of
sir.
Selenium RC. So anyways, just you can have a look at this diagram. You can have a look at this diagram. You can get to know. So let me know if you have any issues on this. See what happens with Selenium RC is it used to have a server, a third-party server. We have the code written over here. We want to run them in the browser, which is over here, right? So we cannot directly run the code from our system to on this browser. So whatever we do, that goes via a proxy. Proxy is this third-party system which takes our code, compiles and converts them into a specific language or a specific set of script which can be understood by the Selenium code. This RC
It's
server, what
11
it does,
o'clock.
it used to inject those server code, Selenium core into this system, then it runs our code. So it was involving lots of steps to do, which was making our code execution very slower. Okay, and it didn't have lots of APIs and it didn't have the feature so that the user can extend it. Like the user can extend the behavior, user can modify the behavior. We had to follow some sort of methods and those methods are run. We cannot change the behavior of those methods as per our understand, as per our requirement. So these are the problems which we faced with Selenium IDE first. Then some of the problems are solved, like cross browser testing across all browsers could be run. That problem was solved with Selenium RC. But again, Selenium RC had some other problems like slower execution of test cases, and like some sort of the APIs were very much like not that much popular. The APIs was not that much like
API means, sir?
sorry.
API?
API is application programming interface. So as I said, you click is a functionality, right? On the web page, you have a button. You need to click on that. So to click on that page, on that button, Selenium has written some code. Okay. What we need to do is we just need to call the click method of Selenium, and Selenium is going to click on that page. Okay. So that click functionality is an API for us. Okay. So click functionality is something which Selenium has given us a method and we can call that method, it will automatically go and click on that button. So irrespective of all browsers, we don't need to like concentrate on how we need to click on the button if it's on Firefox, how we need to click if it is on the Google Chrome. We don't need to worry about that. Selenium has created one API that's called click, and if we call that click method, it will be automatically click whichever browser it is running on. This thing is possible with Selenium RC. Even there are a lot other methods available in Selenium RC, but still that was not sufficient. That's the reason why Selenium RC is outdated. It is not having any more software releases. That releases are stopped. It's not being developed anymore. So RC is now outdated in market. And also the main problem was it didn't have any support for mobile soft web pages. Mobile web pages could not be tested with Selenium RC. The mobile support that came into picture when we started working with Selenium Grid. Sorry, Selenium WebDriver. That is the version 2.0. Okay.
Okay, sir.
See, Selenium RC, I have already told you, this class has been very much boring. Like some of the things are not working properly. It's not. It is not recorded properly, it's not working properly. There are a lot of confusion in this RC and IDE, and these are the things which are very much outdated in market. IDE is used by the internal people, it's never released in production. Okay, so our IDE will help you if you want to like just report, like if you just want to track some sort of issues that you are facing in a project, if you want to share it with someone else, if you want to file a bug, you just need to record the steps, and that's the reason why we used to use Selenium IDE. It is never used in production, so only Selenium WebDriver code can be used in production. APM, that's again another implementation that's written completely in Java. So all the code, the programmatic approach, they are moved into production. We used to test the production environment on those tools. So Selenium RC is like outdated, so we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to read any code about that. So we'll directly jump to the next chapter or the next module. In the next class, I have this syllabus. So we'll start with, okay, the first module is done already. We have just had one introduction to Selenium. Module 3 is Selenium IDE, out of which we have covered lots of things: actions, asserts, assessors, developing test cases, test suites we have already seen, RC we have seen. So almost every part of this is complete. You just go through the topics that we have covered. If you face any problem, we'll solve in the next class. Okay, but next class we'll try to start with Java. So Java basics and OOPS concept and everything. So once you're done with module 2, then we'll have the real world Selenium code, the WebDriver code. This WebDriver, it came into picture when there was the problem with Selenium RC. Okay, this is the latest version of Selenium, which is having, I think, version 3.0, but that is the Selenium WebDriver, which is run in the market. We'll focus more in the Selenium WebDriver, but before that we need to cover module 2. Okay, anything else? Anything else? Any doubt?
Sir, in version.
So, okay, Sanya, you were saying something.
Sir, that is assertion.
What is?
Sir, assertion.
Assessors.
Assessors, yes. Sir.
Yeah. So see, you have already seen actions, asserts. Actions you have understood.
No, sir.
Action as in, see, so these are three basic components of Selenium. I have already discussed about actions and asserts. Okay. Assessor is something I have just given you a hint, like verify and all these things. You can go through that assessors. We'll discuss it in a separate class, because assessor is itself a big chapter. With not a big chapter, actually, it has certain concepts which you need to understand. First, try to understand action. Action as in, we have taken a command. If you remember the Selenium ID, we have taken a command like open, click, and all this thing command. We have targeted
Yes.
a specific UI element. If it needs some value, we have entered those values over here, right? If you want to type something, then we have done that typing, whatever value you want to type. So that is what action is. Assertion we have already seen. Asserts you have seen. Verify and assert, they are something we have, like if the element is present or not, we need to verify, then only the test case should pass. These are two aspects of Selenium. Okay, ID. Now the third thing is assessor, because this thing, it came very late into Selenium. It says that save and execute, like save and use it later on. So say for example, you are in the page in which you are entering some value, and you are clicking on a link which is taking to your next page. So you are losing those values. So assessors will help you save the data from one page and move to the next page and use the data that you have saved. Okay, so you can try with some of the examples of assessors. Just try to Google it. Okay, try to find out some solution. If you're not able to do anything with assessors, I'll give you one example of assessor in the next class. Assessor is just to save and use the saved value in the next page. Okay,
Okay.
this thing. See, Selenium ID is not that much important. It's just one way to give you like the reality, how it basically used to happen, how we used to select the elements, how the like actions are performed. So I just wanted to make you familiar with the terminologies of Selenium. But the real world Selenium work that will come into picture will come only after we study, after we learn Java, core Java part, not entire Java, core Java part. Then module 4, which is the introduction to web drivers. Okay, like different, here we'll get to know lot of concepts, and we don't need to use IDE anymore. You can directly write the Java code, which is going to open the browser and do everything for us. We don't need to have a browser open. Okay, we don't need to have like this IDE, Selenium IDE open, then only we can run the test. We don't need to have anything. We just need to write a Java code, and if we run it, it will open the browser and run for us. There is one quick, just one thing I forgot to say you, the generated code. I've never shared you the generated code of ID. So let me give you one example. So this, let's save this. So these are the test cases which we have seen. These are the steps that were written. If you want to export these test cases from Selenium IDE into a specific language, say for example Java or Ruby, you can select the test case and you can go to File and Export Test Suite or Export Test Case. Okay, so if you export the test case as C# for Java, you're going to get the Java code. If you run that Java code, these things will be performed. We don't need to have Selenium IDE over there. Again, this is something, it's just a like functionality of Selenium IDE which is not that much mature. It won't have the complete code. We need to write, we need to modify the code on our own. So if you want to export the code, we can have JUnit 4 remote control. Let's click on that, and for example tc1 underscore java code. So let's save this file. When we have the file, you can go into this. Okay, this is the file which was created. It's a Java file. If you open with the editor, you can see the Java code is written over there. So these code were generated by Selenium IDE. See, these are the things which you have done. You have navigated to this URL, then you have clicked, you have performed click operation, but this thing is not that mature. See, here it is hard coded like 30,000, it is waiting for that. Now we can change it according to our use case. So it may not run all the time, but we can, for an understanding, we can have this code generated. All the test cases that you have written, you try to export them. It's Java language. If you have not remembered the Java language, we'll start learning Java from next class. Then this code will come into picture. We'll try to understand how this code is actually written. This is the export feature of Selenium IDE. Okay, I think this covers almost everything, every type of introduction to IDE. Now at least we can start a Firefox browser, open a web page, and we can start recording. We can maintain the test suite. We'll have multiple test cases. Then we can play them again. Like later on, you can play them. And if you want to export the test cases into a specific language like Java, Ruby, C#, we can export that. This completes.
Can we export to Python?
Sorry.
Can we export those test cases to Python?
To Python. Yeah,
Yes.
see, if Python is supported by Selenium IDE, you can of course export it. This is the export in Java. So when you do file and export in Selenium IDE, if you check for Python, if Python is available, then we can have it. We have C#, and I think yes, Python is also available over there. You can go and check.
Python supports Selenium.
Right.
Yes.
See, Selenium is a framework, or it's a set of APIs, set of toolkits, which can be like I have already told you, Selenium WebDriver is like just sometimes back we discussed about it. Selenium RC has a problem which cannot be extended, right? But Selenium WebDriver can be extended. Now Selenium WebDriver was initially created with Java only, right? Only Java people, they can write the code which can be run on Selenium. Okay, it can run the Selenium browser, but later on other people, they have started creating their own projects. Now Selenium can be like you can write a code in C#, you can write a code in Python or Ruby, Perl, PHP, and they can be run on Selenium as well. Understood? The same functionality we can achieve with Java, with Python, with PHP, anything. So if you have previous experience in Python, you can export the code from Selenium IDE, and you can have a look at that. You will be able to understand. Okay, so anything else we missed actually? Sana, is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just try to do some sort of like play around on the Selenium IDE. Try to automate some of the web pages. Hmm? Try to look at the different commands you can see. Try to, yes, for just go through these assessors, and I have already told you, need to save them using a command. You can save them into a variable. Then later in the next phase, you can use them back. Okay, so try to do that. If it's not possible, I'll see in the next class. Okay, anything else? So we can stop the class.
Okay.
Okay, seems fine. So I'm stopping the recording.